We need to make an intro video this week. All right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Happy evening. I have some of my favorite people tonight. Oh, we were going to start.
Blessed evening.
Yeah, blessed evening, Beth. Blessed evening, Julia.
Hi.
This is the Under Her Eye podcast, where we shine a light on the Mormon patriarchal system that we came from and help you discover if maybe living under somebody's patriarchal thumb yourself. So first, I'd like to introduce two of my favorite people on the face of planet Earth, and I mean that absolutely sincerely. Beth, let's start with you.
Oh, hey guys. So my name is Beth Magnetic. You'll find me over at Death by Patriarchy. I am working on releasing some episodes that are going to be diving into things like poverty, like patriarchal oppression, issues where people have different obstacles than the mainstream folks that are causing the oppression. So anyway, you can pop on over to Death by Patriarchy here on YouTube, or you can just find me on Facebook, Beth Magnetic. I write a lot on there as well. So Julia,
I love your name, Death by Patriarchy. Sorry to interrupt quickly.
well,
If you're not following Beth already, well, but I love the concept of everything that you do because you're not being satirical about that. We're going to talk tonight about some things that patriarchal governments and power structures do that can literally end in death. And if not, can end in misery and sometimes just the death of the economy, the death of society, the death of our dreams. So Death by Patriarchy, I think, is just such a fitting umbrella right now and not to be taken lightly. Because the patriarchy can be
absolutely
toxic.
They're trying to create the death of feminism at this moment in time. So,
yeah.
Julia.
Yeah, so I'm Julia. I am on Analyzing Mormonism. I have that platform on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I have a website and things like that, Facebook page. I normally look at the historical aspect of the Mormon Church, and sometimes I talk about the current goings on of the church. Like, for instance, I try to cover General Conference. I haven't been making as much content now because I'm working really hard on finishing this semester with my master's program in history, and then life just gets away with me. And so I just haven't been on there very much, but I'm really happy to be on here with you guys and talking about this topic because this is really important to me and makes me really frustrated, but I'm glad we're talking about it. And then Jennie, what can you give us about your background?
I am Jennie Gage with Life Take Two, and I share my harrowing escape from Mormon trad wife life. An interesting thing about me is that I had the opportunity to spend 40 years inside of the Mormon church and as a trad wife with 5 kids of my own, cooking all the meals and in every way just being second fiddle to my husband. And then I guess the interesting part is I got away from that. I escaped 24 years of domestic violence, and now on the other end of the pendulum as a woke feminist activist and hanging out with you girls on our Under Her Eye podcast. So I've kind of 2 different lives, and thus the Life Take Two. You can find me here on YouTube as Life Take Two over at TikTok and Instagram. And I'm so happy to talk with you guys about this stuff tonight. Beth, I want you to kind of introduce the topic. I think that we're all rewatching The Handmaid's Tale and The Handmaid, and it's funny how that a couple of years ago when the series first dropped, I thought, this is so out there, it's so dystopian, it's so fantastical. But now that we're in this current White House and this current administration, I would say also just the current societal climate, we're just a couple steps closer to Gilead than I ever thought we would have been when I first watched it when it launched years ago. So I love the title of our live stream tonight. And Beth, do you want to tell us why we named it that?
Oh, you wanted me to turn my microphone on so you could hear me?
Mics are good. I love mics.
They help. So guys, this episode, we decided to call it What in the Gilead, right? So Gilead is a dystopian version of America in Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale is basically the story of America develops a group infiltrates the government and introduces fascism.
Christian group.
Yes, yes. A fundamentalist Christian group that leans more heavily into the Old Testament than the New Testament. And so they overtake the government, they overthrow the government, and they take over America. America ends up being 2 states by the end, and their capital is now in Anchorage, Alaska. And the country has become a dystopian world where there are handmaids, there are commanders, there are wives, there are guardians and Marthas. So everybody has a very specific role. They dress in colors based on that role. Anyways, one of the things is there is a declining birth rate that really drives Gilead to come to life. And so they end up developing a plan to be able to fight the declining birth rate. And Gilead is finally able to be the first country in the world that actually has, that's replacing themselves in birth. They do this, though, by finding women who are fertile and using them as handmaids, where they use the biblical practice where the handmaid comes in and she lays on the wife's lap, and they naturally conceive all together, the 3 of them, and then the handmaids then birth the baby and give it to the wife, and that's the end of that. And then they are sent to their next posting. So Gilead is this country where there's a declining birth rate, and they believe that the most important thing that they can do is replace babies. And so this week, the New York Times came out with an article called "White House Assesses Ways to Persuade Women to Have More Children." And they talk all about the declining birth rate and all of the ways that these men have come up with for women to be incentivized to have more babies. So this is pretty darn, one of the important things when we talk about anything with The Handmaid's Tale. Margaret Atwood, the author of Handmaid's Tale, every single thing in Handmaid's Tale comes from something in history within the last few hundred years. So it is not, she did not make up a single thing. It is found, every single thing has happened in the world, and it is horrifying. And she said that she felt like it would happen probably in the US, and she wrote this book back in the 80s, 1985. So I believe it's a 40-year-old book. And so she said that once she put the book out, she found it really interesting because Canadians came to her and said, "Do you think that this could happen?" And she would say, "Well, yeah, it's based on things that have actually happened." And she said that Americans
It repeats itself.
Yeah. And so she said that Americans would come to her and they'd ask her a different question. They would ask her, "When do you think this will happen?" And yeah, doesn't that give you like bad goosebumps?
Yeah.
So I feel like the current administration is probably asked, how do we make this happen? Like it's almost a playbook, like they're getting ideas from it. And I can just picture like Trump and Vance like sitting in their recliners with like their flannel pajamas on and a bag of popcorn taking notes.
Handmaid's Tale. So I would say that, except here's my caveat is that she followed history. Why can't we accept that they're just following history? So we'll talk later about something that they suggested that was done in Nazi Germany directly. So anyway, we'll get there. Anyway, Julia read this article to prep for this, and she saw why I was like, guys, we have to talk about this. So my little guy, he just got his tonsils out Monday, and I was like, guys, there's no way I'm going to do any episodes this week. And then this article dropped, and I was like, guys,
we have to
do
Beth,
this. So
you're the type of person who will discuss a hot topic even in the midst of Epidemic week, and I salute you. Like, I mean, you are like the ultimate mom juggling both worlds thanks to late stage capitalism, and I'm sure that you have to do that, but also I'm glad that you do it with so much grace. So one thing that I hear everybody talking about on two ends of, I feel like they're like the teachers teeter-totter, that these are like opposing sides of the teeter-totter, is the male loneliness epidemic and the birth strikes, declining birth rate. So women aren't lonely. We're over here happy. We're not having babies. We're using our reproductive organs exactly the way that we see fit. And thanks to Roe v. Wade being off-label for a lot of women in a lot of states, we are, in some cases, even like choice sterility. Women making sure that they're getting hysterectomies, making sure that they're not bleeding. And over here, we have these lonely men. And I hear these two debates going on all the time. So it really intrigued me that the White House came out with this. And I'm so excited that Julia is going to dive into this, because I just think that the declining birth rate, just like the male loneliness epidemic, kind of like Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, like I don't think that it necessarily exists. I think that it's just a label that we're sticking on things because women were having far too many babies, far too often. We were over capacity, which is not natural. That's not what human tribes have ever done. We saw this huge boom during the baby boom, and it was unnatural. And now we're trying to replace a very unnatural, unsustainable, unhealthy model. And rebelling. I call it the hoo-ha rebellion. And I hope that catches on, because really that's what's going on right now. There's feminism and there's all of that, but there's also very specific intentional rebellion against having babies. Women deciding, maybe I'm only have one or two with my husband, maybe I'm not going to get married, maybe I'm not going to have any. And it's kind of interesting. So the White House has come out with a solution.
Yeah.
And it's great. And Julia loves it, right?
So good. So good.
Oh my gosh. I was so mad.
Can I tell you the thing that annoys me before we dive in
about
this? So it really annoys me that all of their solutions are things for women to do. These solutions,
right.
none of them are men-centric. None of them are, okay, how do we make it so that men can, afford bigger families? How can we make it so that men are better husbands? How can we make it so that these men are showing up in a way that women want to have babies with them? And it's all about baby. The women. This whole thing is how do we manipulate women into having more babies?
And also they are sure to quote women throughout this article who are in support of these ideas as well. I just thought that was really interesting that it's women pushing against women, which is historically really interesting that has happened. Like the biggest push against the ERA was women. Which I just think is fascinating. So
it's not fascinating because especially times the shield meetings and the trad wives are always ones who are protecting the patriarchy, especially when we get into some of the white supremacist patriarchy. The women are the biggest front men. And part of that is because we are the most desperate. As a trad wife, I would have protected my husband, the Mormon church, and the entire patriarchal structure to my dying breath, because I didn't have a job. I didn't have an education. I didn't have anything. And if that house of cards crumbled, then my whole life would have evaporated. So when you're knee deep in all of the benefits of that patriarchal system, then of course you're going to come out and support it. You're getting so much benefit out of it. And that's really follow the benefit trail. When you have women that are benefiting from their husbands, from the system, from the government, from Trump, whatever it is, of course they're going to protect it because they're benefiting.
And Margaret Atwood did a really good job of exploring this concept with the wives. The wives who uphold all of this. So
I hate Serena.
Serena. I'm so curious to see how this final season ends for Serena, but we'll see.
I have not seen or read this book yet. I feel like I just need to do that. I've seen maybe one episode. It was so jarring that I couldn't do it.
Okay, so my boyfriend, he started watching it and he was like, "This is terrible." not like it's a terrible show, but it's heavy. It's very heavy.
It is heavy. Trigger warning. It's heavy.
And we're 7 steps closer to it right now. Okay, Julia, what's the article? What are we taking a peek at?
So the article. So I think you said the title already, but it's White House assesses ways to persuade women to have more children. And the article is by Caroline. The article is by Caroline Kitchener. Is that how you say her name? Kitchener. And it was written 3 days ago on the 21st. And so, did I freeze?
No, your voice is still going.
Perfect. Okay. So there are several quotes that I took from this that I didn't put them in any specific order. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say them all. So the one that caught my attention was the author, Caroline Kitchener. She says, last month, Trump pledged to be, quote, the fertilization president. And I wasn't sure if you guys had any comments on that, because I just thought that was super fascinating.
Mr. Grab him by the is the
Oh my
fertilization
gosh.
president. I mean, he's had 3 wives, and how many kids has he had? Julia, your face is frozen. How come your video is frozen?
I don't know what's happening.
Maybe
to my
try
face.
turn your camera off and back on. Maybe it will reset.
Oh no.
Nope.
Maybe we'll just. Nope.
Thank you
Still
for
doesn't
being
work.
patient, guys. I love technology.
I don't even know why it's doing that.
Technology.
So with the fertilization president thing, so one of the things that stands out to me, so I have done, even before the last few weeks where people have started talking a lot about eugenics and how we're seeing that so strongly in US politics, I had been studying this leading up to that. And one of the things that's really important to understand about the time period in Germany in the 1930s, they were also wanting to have a baby boom. They were also wanting to create a culture where it was where every German strengthened Germany. So they wanted to have tons of, in their words, like I know these weren't their words. I was thinking of RFK's words the other day, but able-bodied babies, right? And so if a baby was born that was not able-bodied, they sent that baby to be euthanized.
Oh
and
my gosh.
The parents thanked them for that,
Oh
that the parents could then try again for a healthy baby.
Oh my gosh.
And it's horrific. It's horrific. So the fact that we have RFK talking about how important it is for us to be replacing our people with able-bodied babies is giving the disabled community like all of the red flags.
They're all of the red flags.
Yeah, as you watch all of these other red flags compiling, and we see this incentivizing women to have babies that we also saw in 1930s Germany. It becomes this huge, alarming issue because we're seeing that they're not just necessarily following, like I said, the Handmaid's Tale. They are following the handbook from 1930s Germany. And it is so concerning. So the fact that he's talking about being the fertilization president and they're talking about able-bodied babies, oof, it's a little too close to Berlin.
Dang.
Julia, if I remove you,
yeah, maybe try that because I've tried coming in and out. So
yeah, I see you coming in and out. Okay, we're gonna remove her and have her come back in. You guys, thank you so much for being so patient. Beth, it kind of reminds me of Animal Farm, which I recently reread here. I actually found my ex-mom's college copy of like her paperback Animal Farm that she read at BYU. Which is funny because that's where my mom went to college, but it was printed in like 1968 or something. So I just recently reread Animal Farm here, and remember in the beginning, they start off as we are this nation, we are this society of all animals are equal.
Yeah.
And then they write in all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And it's a chilling moment as this progresses. And of course, Animal Farm is about the Bolshevik revolutionaries and, the communist Russia in its baby era. That's something that is always problematic in society. Ideals are terrible. Every human being has a right to be on this planet in whatever form we are here on this planet. And that cooperative, that respect, that sustaining of individual lives is core to peaceful, thriving societies. And whenever we start to stratify and say this person's better than that person, and here's our ideal, when 99.9% of society doesn't fit that ideal, then what does that mean? They're meaningless, they're worthless, and we don't value them, so we're fine with them slipping through the cracks.
And they're worse than worthless. They are a drain on our resources. So back in Nazi Germany, they had all of these signs that basically said it cost us 60,000, I can't remember what the currency was called, but it costs you 60,000 whatevers a year for us to keep one disabled person alive. And so they were showing people how much it was costing the average, not even the average, but it was costing society that much to keep these people alive. Julia, you're back.
Julia, we can see you. Hello.
And so it's not even that people are worthless. It's that they're costing the system money that could be in your pocket. And I want you guys to just start watching for that messaging that's coming through with Doge, with everything that they're talking about, is how much the parasites are bleeding you dry. They're in your pocket. They're in your wallet. They're taking your money from you. And it's insane once you see it.
I encourage everybody to just, when you get off of this episode here, just go do a quick 10-minute Google search, not propaganda. Othering, having boogeymen is always a tool that totalitarian regimes have used throughout all of society's history. And if you can find barbarians, if you can find, invaders, if you can find somebody to be the boogeyman so that your tribe feels like you have to fight against the outsiders, that's a real tool of control and fear. And Hitler was masterful at it. When you study how the Holocaust happened, it was like boiling a frog. It was bit by bit, degree by degree. And the biggest propaganda tools was, first of all, setting the ideals. This is what we're looking for. It's the Aryan race. They have to look a certain way. And then coming in with the boogeymen. These people are not people. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And tragedy that we as human beings should never engage in. And here we are. We're wading into it. Okay, Julia.
Yeah, so there's a few times where you guys were talking where this reminded me of another quote from this article where it says, speaking to a crowd in January at the March for Life, an anti-abortion rally, Mr. J.D. Vance said he wanted, quote, more babies in the United States of America, unquote, and more, quote, beautiful young men and women, unquote, to raise them. And so I was just thinking of this, like he's commenting on, like he's talking about beautiful young men and women having more babies. Like, I just thought that was interesting. Like he's specifically, I don't know. I just thought it was
specifically beautiful, right?
Yes,
yeah. Which again, if we look at Nazi Germany, they had this obsession with, we are the most beautiful people on the planet, so there should be more of us. It is interesting.
That person. What if we don't fit into that? Then we shouldn't have babies. Then we don't deserve to be alive. Like what? Right. What is the inference with that? It's disable.
Right. It's awful.
And it's interesting because J.D. Vance, his wife is Indian, right? And so it's not like we're seeing like this striving for an Aryan race, but there is a superior type of person that they're trying to suggest. They spent the entire election talking about low IQ, low IQ, low IQ, low IQ, that we need to get rid of these people who are quote unquote low IQ. And as somebody who has a child that would test as low IQ, that was something that really stood out to me as like, this is interesting. How often
do you feel like they're kind of like pot kettle black? Like anytime anybody from the White House is like low IQ, well,
when they're
maybe look in a mirror. Come on.
I think I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was somebody at SNL. They talked about the fact that they don't believe that Trump can actually read. And it's a really, really interesting video. I'll have to find it and send it to you guys. But anyway, So yeah, that was really interesting to me too, Julia. That we need to have beautiful men and beautiful
specifically.
Women. Yeah. And that they were like, he's on this mission to make it so that trans people in his mind aren't included in that, in my opinion.
Okay, and that's another,
and men and women. Like he didn't want two women raising the children.
Yeah.
He didn't want two men raising the children. He wants a man and a woman.
Throughout this whole article, there was a lot of homophobic and transphobic tones. And so I want to talk about that as well. But also they list several reasons or several ways that they can help women and couples have more children. So the whole aim of this article is that the birth rates are low and the marriage rates are low. And so they're trying to get those to be higher. And so they talk about this baby bonus. They talk about educating women as far as their cycles. They talk about tax credits and things like that. And so what I wanted to talk about, and then the medal thing, that the medal of motherhood, which we'll talk about too. But I kind of want to talk about these and I don't know if there's a specific
Stolen
order.
straight from Germany, right,
Right,
Beth?
right. But I wanted to talk about the baby bonus first. And so I'll just read it. So this is, again, directly from the article. It says, several lawmakers are exploring legislation to offer new parents a baby bonus, a one-time payment of a few $1,000s to the mother of the child to be issued soon after her delivery. According to people familiar with the discussions, the baby bonus could also take the form of a young child or a newborn supplement of the existing child tax credit. And so they're paying women to have babies, like an initial payment as soon as the baby is born. Did you guys have thoughts on that? I thought that was really interesting.
And replacing the child tax credit, which is so much higher than $5,000 over the course of your child's 18 years, right? So like within 2 years, I would have had that amount with the child tax credit. So they're removing the sustainability to actually raise the child. They're just trying to get me to bring the child in. And create an unstable system, an unstable home, an unstable family, just instability so that they can control us. But that's my conspiracy theory. So I will start holding myself back.
I feel like there's people that are going to fall for this. There are women who haven't had kids. There are women who don't understand the road that they're about to embark on if they choose to have children when they're unprepared, and they're going to have the baby. They're going to get that tax bonus, and then it's going to bite them in the butt. I always compare the Trump White House to my ex-husband Jake, who is not mentally stable, and he'd like offer this little carrot, and he'd take a nibble, and then it was poisonous, and it wasn't ever a good situation. Like, you offer something that's actually a classic bait and switch that isn't sustainable at all. A few $1,000s to have a baby, what is that going to do? Nothing.
It will not cover the hospital bill. And I think that, again, goes to show how detached these men are from what it costs and takes to actually bring a baby into this world.
Right.
They're so clueless, so clueless.
But there are people who are going to fall for it.
I had somebody who said that like, she was like, oh, well, I've been thinking about having a baby anyway, so it'd be nice to just get a little cash bonus. But I'm like, okay, but if they're doing this in place of the child tax credit, that's not a win. That's not a win in any capacity. So yeah. Anyway, what else did you find, Julia?
So more on the tax credit. I thought it was interesting that they're specifically focused. So I guess that one was for the mother specifically, for the mother who delivers. And then they're offering a tax credit. So Mr. Richards said there's a policy plan that offers tax credits to married couples with children, in which families receive more money back from the government for each additional child they have. So they're trying to focus on the couples that, not just the mothers that are having kids, but the married couples that are having kids. They're trying to give them the tax credit. And so I thought that was really interesting. And they're heterosexual couples that are having children. I thought that was really interesting. That, again, throughout the whole article.
I just have a little chime in on this. Sure. So if you read Project 2025, they talk about how the greatest threat to America was single mothers. And now they're talking about basically getting rid of a tax credit that I would be able to receive as a single mother because I'm not married.
Right.
To try and force my hand to be married.
Yeah.
Would you girls say that you feel sometimes like single men and single mothers right now are like the greatest boogeymen in America?
And trans people, I would say trans people.
For a single lesbian mom, like that's the holy trifecta right there. That is the biggest boogeyman in this White House.
And the people that they're also saying are illegal immigrants, even if they're here on asylum, even if they're here legally. There was literally a man who was like at the Capitol for his naturalization ceremony, and they ICE took him at his naturalization ceremony.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what in the world? So
remember who wrote that? The Statue of Liberty, was it ICE? Was that her last name? Bring me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, your immigrants from yonder war-torn shore. Bring these, the tired, tempest-tossed to me. That is right now the motto of the Democratic Party. We are one. Bring me your tired, your poor. Yeah. What happened that America is just bumping people out left and right? That we can't be
Christian nationalist white supremacists took over the Republican Party, and Republicans refuse to admit that their party has been infiltrated on that level. And so they're so like, oh, well, I can't be a Democrat and vote for abortion, so I will sacrifice every other value I have in order to not vote for abortion. That's been my take. And then they also, they're not processing that like their party is not what it was 10 years ago. Their party is some zombie version of what it was 10, 15 years ago.
I just want to reply to this comment really quick. Deborah, thank you so much for watching. I think absent fathers are the main problem. I dig into all the time for different divorce groups that I work with, and absent fathers seem like a problem, but children actually fare better with single moms than they do with toxic dads. All data shows that it's the financial ramifications not having a father that have negative implications for the single mom and her children, with a big portion of childhood coming directly from women who've been financially abandoned by their partners. So absentee fatherism is not necessarily a problem. In many ways, it provides a better environment for children because the children are safe. They don't have a toxic home. They don't have that toxic masculinity. But having financial abandonment with a mother who's unable to provide for them, that certainly comes with its own problems. So it's a nuanced answer to absent fathers being the problem. We aren't supposed to have nuclear families to begin with. So the husband and wife living in a little picket fence in the suburbs with our industrialization, urbanization, capitalization of the world, that is problematic. That has led to widespread tribal decay. Ideally, we should have extended family, parents, aunts, uncles, maybe a couple of single aunts or younger sisters that help child care and rear for the children. And it shouldn't be all on the father. We've exploited men in our urbanized, industrialized, capitalistic system to the point that they can't show up for anybody. They're out just grinding every day to make a living. And we've exploited women by keeping them home, not having them even be able to access the economic structure that would provide for themselves and their children. And this is all just the result of tribal decay. What we need, the answer is actually father coming back. It's tribes, it's extended families, not relocating across the country for that job or because you like warm weather, but carefully considering if I relocate from Washington to Florida, am I going to have grandparents, aunts, uncles, other members of my community to help me raise children? And then also we're far over capacity in the number of children Americans have. So it's a complex situation.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments on that as well. So I just wanted to speak because statistics show that also children raised with lesbian mothers fare just as well as children who are raised with heterosexual parents. Queer parents are statistically are often more involved in the children's schooling and education and their upbringing in general. And so children fare better or just as well. And so I just wanted to point that out too, where fathers are not even a part of the family with lesbian mothers. I just wanted to say that. But also one thing that I found something that you said, Jennie, part of this article was like they're stressing out about the lack of children. Whereas right now, I think the studies just show that as of now, there's like 8 billion people on the planet. Is that correct? So it's like, it's okay if we have less children. Like this planet has so many more humans than I think it's ever had. I don't know if that's
more than
true.
It needs. So many more than
it needs.
The rat's ass about the planet. We are trying to support is the infrastructure. We are specifically trying to support late-stage American capitalism, period.
Yeah.
They need workers. They need people that are going to make sure, like, that we have people in the sewer plant, that we have plumbers, that we have electricians, that we have teachers. We are trying to replace the things to prop up this infrastructure that we've built. It's like elephants at the zoo, and you have this cage, and it was built for 12 elephants, and 6 of the elephants are old and they pass away, and now you only have 6 elephants left. And so you're working so hard to make new elephants because you have this big elephant cage. We need to stop focusing on the goddamn elephant cage. We need to reconnect with the actual earth. Stop committing suicide. Stop overstressing both women and men, fathers and mothers, and go back to a more natural state. That truly is the only answer. And Americans are some of the only people that are trying to defy nature. Yeah, the planet has quite enough people.
Yeah.
That we're not going to have Social Security. They're afraid that we're not going to have sewer plant workers, that we're not going to have the guy driving the bus.
We might have to just
That's what they
actually
want us to replace.
rethink. We might have to rethink the system if the system doesn't work anymore. And
Yeah.
God forbid we rethink the system.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. So, yeah. What else did you find to be particularly interesting, Julia?
So one thing that really infuriated me, and I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but they said I think the spokesperson was a woman, Miss Emma Waters gave this suggestion. For another reason to help women have more children is to give them greater education on their menstrual cycle, which I think was really interesting. So let me just read what they said. I'll just read the whole paragraph. So Miss Waters has proposed directing the National Institutes of Health to expand its study of infertility and reproductive health conditions, including endometriosis. She has also proposed using government funds to promote programs that educate women on their menstrual cycles and their natural fertility, such as cycle charting courses that many conservative Christian women use to try to prevent pregnancy without using birth control. So I think the reason this frustrated me is because like I haven't done any of these things. I've had one child, but like I know exactly when I'm fertile. Like I know how my body works. All of my sisters, all the women in my lives, they know how their body works. They know when their cycle's coming. They know when they're fertile. They know when they need to check in with things. Like women know their bodies. I feel like this is sort of insulting.
I learned all of this stuff in a Facebook group. Like I don't need the government to come in and teach me it.
Like, can you use that funding?
JD Vance tell you when you're going to ovulate?
But it's so frustrating to me. Like, we know our bodies. Can you use this funding for something else? Can you educate, maybe use it in a different facet?
And like, literally, we already have apps that tell us when we're fertile. Like,
right,
plug in, oh, my period just started. Congratulations, you're fertile.
Free apps. We don't need government funding for these courses. Like, it just felt kind of insulting. Like, women have
out of touch. Like out of touch with like what the current, I want to know how old Ms. Waters is. Does she not realize there are apps? Does she not realize that we have trying to conceive fertility Facebook groups? Like, why does she not realize that we already have this information? Has she not found YouTube yet?
Well, I think that it says a lot about what the people in power think about just everyday citizens. You can just see her sitting there like reading some report going, the everyday citizen has no idea how their bodies work. Do they know? Has anyone taught them about their periods, about the birds and the bees? Should we have some people to teach them about tampons? This is what they think about us, that we're that uneducated and ignorant.
Yeah, this part infuriated me because yes, we see these videos of people in the courthouse where they're like, they don't even know what off-topic pregnancies are or things like that. And we're like, the man is trying to educate a woman on her own body. Like it's just crazy to me. Or I guess in this case, it's Miss Waters who is saying that this is a great idea. Whereas like you said, Beth, there are apps for this. Like we know what's going on with our bodies. We don't need government.
And that's not why we're not having babies. I guess it didn't infuriate me. It made me giggle this little bit here because it's like, like I have friends who just aren't getting married, who are like, I am so happy. Like me and Kat are loving our lives and traveling around the world. And it's that we don't know when we're ovulating. It's not that we have no idea how that works. It's because we're choosing. This is a choice.
I had that thought throughout this whole article. It never really addresses what makes them think that it's infertility. Is it women choosing? Is it women coming in who are trying to get pregnant, but they're not getting pregnant? Like it didn't really point specifically to the reasons why women are not having children. Because I had the same thoughts, Jennie.
Watching Handmaid's Tale. Like they're thinking, oh, it's a fertility crisis. This is not a fertility crisis.
A great plan.
It's the hoo-ha rebellion.
And so if there's anybody watching who can explain this to me, I would love an answer that my autistic brain can accept. I have asked probably 50 people this question so far. What is marriage except asking the government to be in a throuple? Like, what is it? I'm signing a relationship with the government. Why do I need to bring the government into my relationship?
But I wasn't in a throuple with the government. I was in a throuple with Heavenly Father.
Okay,
Oh.
but
So
now
that's
that I'm out of the church, yeah,
different.
before Mormonism was in my throuple, but I maybe I just have a throuple aversion at this point, where I'm like, I don't know why I want another institution involved in my relationships. Like, what's it gonna do? So other than like, you know, change in my tax bracket, not and making it so that marriage is a technology that solves certain problems, originally property and parentage, now it's more social. So yeah, so I'm like why would I, if it's a social thing, why would I bring the government into my social relationship?
I was
Anyway,
reading the
if
Shoshone spiritual book by a Shoshone medicine man, and it's fascinating. It's my new Bible. And talking about how many of the Shoshone and Shoshone adjacent tribes, it was always the woman who owned the baby because you knew that was the woman's baby, where paternity was a little bit more sketchy. So the woman owned the baby, the woman owned the home, the woman had the inheritance. They were the ones that provided for the child, which is very different than America. So there have been multiple other ways that different civilizations have solved ownership, parentage, other than marriage. Marriage, certainly in the Western world, is the way that we've done it, and I think that it causes more problems than should. I'm just tired of everything in our lives being hijacked by the government and monetization.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I can't
so
just fall in love with somebody and say, I love you and I commit to you. I have to file the paperwork down at the court, and then I have to pay the wedding planner and the invitation guy and the photographer and the pastor and the diamond dealer and everybody else. So I just said fuck that to all of that. And when I finally met the love of my life, 24 years of eternal marriage, we didn't quite make it to the goal there with our eternal marriage. After that horrible divorce, when I met Kevin, to go a different route. We are not married. We filed as domestic partners, which protects our property. We have power of attorney, medical power of attorney for one another, so that we can make decisions in case of life or death type of events and hospitalizations, etc., which has come in really handy for us. And I did not have a wedding. We had a commitment ceremony during the pandemic. There were 6 people in the church with us. We Zoomed the rest. I spent $21, $24 making my own bouquet at Trader Joe's. I bought a $12 Target wedding dress. It was just a summer eyelet dress, and we wrote vows. I'll tell you, I felt like I had control of my relationship. It wasn't about impressing anybody. It wasn't about the church or my family or anything. It was about me and Kevin and our commitment to one another, and it is absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend 10 out of 10. Be rebels.
I love that. I love that. So this conversation, marriage is lessening, so the government involvement is primarily providing incentives. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so if I don't care about those incentives, it does nothing for me.
For all the incentives that I got, we spent $53,000 something on divorce attorneys. Divorce was a complete nightmare. Like, there was nothing that they could have given me on the front end, and I think that that's a real problem. They're incentivizing us on the front end, but they're not looking at the back end. Like, this is high risk, and you're probably going to be better off overall if you just don't do it.
Yeah, it's so expensive. Divorce is so expensive.
Yes. So one of the things that stood out to me while I was watching Handmaid's Tale this last time, because I watched it 2 times so far, and the second time I was watching it, I had this thought of what if they really wanted to do this, if they wanted to have a society where women were willing to have lots of babies, why didn't they create a society where women were treated like queens, where they were given a life of luxury, where everything was taken care of them for them, where they had the best food, the best prenatal care, they had the best experience. And so it would be like, oh, hell yes, sign me up. I will crank out babies if somebody's just going to take care of everything so that I can just be a baby making factory. But they didn't. They put them in this position of servitude. And it got me thinking about our society. So we have all of these patriarchal men out there saying that we want women having more babies, but these very same patriarchal men They all are entirely sold on the fact that women are the problem, that and they treat mothers like we are blood-sucking leeches just bleeding the system dry, that we are scam artists, that we always leave men and they never ask why. And so anyway, I ended up translating that over like, okay, so they should have been treating the handmaids like gold if they wanted them to produce lots of babies. And then I was like, wait a second, why aren't they treating us like gold? So anyway, you guys sit with that and enjoy that when it's like hitting you at 3 a.m. in the morning and you're like, oh my goodness, they should be doing that.
I got scammed because I had all the babies and then it was my job to like cook and clean, take care of the house and do all his laundry and run his errands. Like Jake didn't even like set his own hair appointments. Like I called and took care of that for him. I ironed his shirts. Like I'd wake up in the morning and iron his shirt for him. Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that?
I was not that wife. I was not that wife at all.
Well, good.
Okay, what do we got next?
Okay, so one of the other things that they incentivize women, and Beth, I want you to talk about this as well, is the Medal of Motherhood. So Miss Simone Collins, she's an activist. She said, along with her husband, Malcolm Collins, sent the White House several draft executive orders, including one that would bestow a National Medal of Motherhood to mothers with 6 or more children.
So this is fun because, as we've been talking about, if we go back, starting in 1939 in Germany, there was what was called the Cross of Honor of the German Mother. And there were 3 different tiers of it. There was bronze, silver, and gold. And so the bronze was if you had 4 to 5 children, 4 or 5 children. The silver is if you had 6 or 7 children, and the gold is if you had 8 children. And so you were able to wear this, and they give you a brooch version. They made it so that it was like this beautiful, amazing ceremony where you were elevated and honored for producing it. So literally, this executive order that you're discussing literally happened in Nazi Germany.
Oh my gosh. We're not even hiding it. Like
specifically 7 children. You said, was it 6 children?
It says 6 or more.
6 or more
proposed. Yeah.
Okay. So it's 8 children.
It's an unhealthy number. That is overcapacity.
6 is
physically straining.
6 is for the silver.
It's emotionally.
Oh my god.
That's terrible.
So there was literally a award for motherhood that you could wear, a medal that you could wear that had the swastika and it says like Deutschen around it. And so they had it in 3 different colors.
Okay, but also like this is a medal. It's just a medal. Like, oh, if you have 6 kids, you'll get a medal. Like, is this enough incentive for women to have 6 or more kids? They had some like award ceremony to present them with it. You know, like Boy Scouts get, for getting their merit badges. You added a whole other human child. Let's give you a medal. And no other.
You added 6 human children.
Right. Like a medal. Anyway, that is not enough incentive for me.
So as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, did you know?
Oh my gosh, which is insane to me.
Isn't that a word that I can't say to Jennie's grandmas?
I know, my grandmas don't like when we say fuck, damn, or shit. I was terrible for you.
I was about to say bat bleep crazy, but literally, guys, I am not kidding you when I tell you that they are pulling so much of this crap from Nazi Germany, not just with this motherhood piece, but with so many other pieces of what they've been doing over the last 100 days or so.
Yeah.
It's so
okay. So I have a couple more comments that they were personal to me because as a queer woman, I don't like how they twist things about how they present things as far as homosexual couples. But there's another part that says, much of the movement is built around promoting a very specific idea of what constitutes a family, one that includes marriage between a man and a woman and leaves out many families that don't conform to traditional gender roles or family structures. And so, like, if you guys look up, you can just Google like how healthy are queer couples, how gay couples, lesbian couples, transgender couples, parents. They're exactly the same, if not better, than heterosexual families. And statistically, they are having children. So, like, I don't like at all how they categorize like that we're pro-family, but you're not really pro-family. You're pro your type of family, which is just silly to me. And there was another part where Trump, I can't remember who's quoting. I guess it'll say, but it says the president wants America to be a country where all children can safely grow up and achieve the American dream, she added. So this is Caroline Levitt that is quoting. This is quoting from. As a mother myself, I am proud to work for a president who is taking significant action to leave a better country for the next generation.
Where
so he's
all
saying,
children,
all children,
all children, unless they're disabled, unless they have a developmental disability, unless they're queer, unless they're trans, unless they are an immigrant, unless they're brown, unless they're black. So,
but all children, Beth,
for all white, straight Christian children.
All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others.
Yes. So
Screw
that's
them so hard.
Thank you, Orwell.
Yeah. That's what I caught as well, Beth.
I don't think
this all children thing
means. Yeah, I don't think that they
do not know. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
As they're literally like celebrating people being sent to El Salvador. They talk about the problem of fatherlessness as they ship away fathers to El Salvador for life.
But those aren't the right kind of fathers.
Yeah.
I can think being an incentive for people who want recognition from their cheerleader.
Oh, okay, my sister would love it. My sister would eat up getting this especially from Trump. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, like if you got to fly to Washington and like go to the White House or something like that, or like Donald himself like signed a little, like what if they make the medal like a jacket?
You're there with 500 other mothers who just had their sixth child, and then he does this ceremony and you all get to be presented with them and his signature. Oh yeah, I have family members who would love this. It would be one of the highlights of their life.
Wait, qualifying children? Did I miss a quote?
I don't know. They qualifying children?
Here, let me see if I can find it.
Every human.
It did say something about qualifying.
It did. Okay. Because I don't recall that.
But I think maybe it wasn't that word, but it was like it had to be to a married family, a married father and mother.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For it to be a qualifying child.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
Okay. I feel like.
Did you have any other quotes? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just do have one more, just at the very end. So that was mostly it. So the child tax credit for the married couples, the baby bonus, educating women on their menstrual cycles and their fertility, whatever. And then the medal for women. But then I wanted at the very end, the woman concludes with this quote from Trump. And I just wanted to add this in here. We will support baby booms and we will support baby bonuses for a new baby boom, Mr. Trump said. I want a baby boom. Like, I just think it was a great way to end this article for Caroline Kitchen.
So I
fertility president.
Yeah, I saw a article, or not an article, like a TikTok or something, where they were talking about that quote in particular, and they broke out when the last baby boom happened, but it was like after FDR, and he had put in all sorts of social programs to make it so that people would have babies taken care of, so that people would have social programs in place during their pregnancy, all sorts of things to make it so that getting pregnant, being pregnant, and having that child was easier. And they just removed all of those programs. And so it's like they don't understand what we need to feel secure to have a baby. And like
$1,000 and a medal. That's it, Beth. I'm going to have a reverse hysterectomy, and I'm going to get going on this right away because,
so here's the thing is that like I am still a woman in my fertile years. I could have babies. You know what? I would never consider having a baby when they are removing all of the social programs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider having a baby for 1,000
But
reasons.
If you do,
Right.
can I come to your medal ceremony?
Yeah, if I have 4 more kids, you can totally come.
Okay, I already have 4. So if I do that reverse hysterectomy, can I do 2 more to you guys really quick?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what is silly? All these ideas seem so silly to me. Educate women on something that they already know. Give them a medal, because that's totally worth it. That makes all these 6 kids and raising them till they're 18 or whatever. That makes it worth it. The tax credit only if you're married. The baby bonus just for the mother that takes away the other things. Like this, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, to have babies. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it does not. This
the
doesn't
math ain't mathin'.
Even out here. It's not mathing.
I want
to those are my main takeaways from the article.
I want to do an article of my own really quick. Is there more of this article?
No.
You guys may recognize this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That is the purpose why we separated from England, so that we could make sure they had the support that we needed as all humans, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principle, organized powers in such form, so as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety, happiness, and prudence. And we will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Anyway, there is nothing about Declaration of Independence that says some people don't deserve the same opportunities. We established this nation specifically so that we could get out from under the monarchy, out from under the extreme economic chasm that existed between the landowners and the feudal serfs across Europe. And we established this incredible state where just random immigrants could homestead, which that's all of my family. We're all immigrants. We're all immigrants within the past couple hundred years, the past few hundred years. My family all started off as homesteaders. They all started off just cutting timber, pulling out rocks, planting vegetables, and now we're pretending like those type of people don't matter. Like the tired, the poor, the huddled masses. They no longer deserve to be in America, but that is in fact what America was established on. And I'm personally sick of the billionaires. I'm sick of the skinny little rich girl trad wives. I'm sick of the supremacy, and I'm sick of those of us who really don't have the resources giving little carrots that are trying to like tempt us to do things that we really cannot do in any responsibility.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I have to tell you, I was just sitting here thinking, as we were talking about Animal Farm and Handmaid's Tale and that type of thing, be so curious from our listeners if anybody would be interested in a dystopian book club.
Ooh.
I think that would be so, I don't know if fun is the right word, but enlightening,
educational,
educational.
All the
Kevin took me to the banned book aisle the other day for a date. Like on Friday night, we surprised each other. So he took me to the banned book aisle, and he's like, "Pick out whatever you want, baby."
Oh,
that's so hot. It had all kinds of stuff. It had like the Handmaid's Tale. I don't even know what else it had. It had all this stuff.
I need to read this book and finish the show, I guess.
Oh, so. It's a doozy.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. That's probably why I haven't seen it. Right? Okay.
So, yeah, American Handmaid is absolutely real.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So.
And she wrote it when? In the 80s?
1985, 84,
That's
85,
insane.
somewhere in there.
Well, it's kind of like how 1984, which was written in 1948, like there's so many points of 1984 that have come true today that like this is truly how we're living. Like, I don't know, I feel like The Handmaid's Tale is going to come true here. I have a list of, if I was the president, what I would give to women. This is my, I'll just read a couple of these here. This is what mothers in America actually drive. And you guys, on my list, there's not a single medal. Sorry, like spoiler alert.
Dang
So this
it.
is a list of systemic resources that are missing in the United States, leaving women and mothers vulnerable to instability, poverty, and burnout. And I faced all of those. I was sleeping in the SUV when my husband abandoned me for 3 months. I was homeless. Every once in a while, I'd get myself a motel, I could be with kids, and it was horrible. So number one, financial protection after divorce or death of a partner. When marriage ends by choice or tragedy, mothers often lose everything: housing, income, legal support, stability. Financial protections should not be optional. They should be built into the system. We need automatic unemployment or transition benefits for displaced homemakers. I'd been married for 24 years. I hadn't had a job. There's no unemployment for displaced homemakers. It doesn't exist.
There's no retirement. There's nothing. Yeah, we're screwed.
Give me that. I will have the reverse hysterectomy. I don't know if that's possible.
But they want us to not be able to leave the men, Jenny. They want us to stop being able to leave men.
They're not in charge anymore. We're about to topple this patriarchy. So this is
Jenny. This is Jenny's the president, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Jenny's the president. Right. I'm the president here. And free legal aid and for women, guaranteed right for mothers to remain in the family home, and giving them three years of that, automatic wage garnishment for child support and alimony enforcement. So no, like I have to go get an attorney. If we have filed for divorce, there's automatic wage garnishment. I don't have to keep taking them back to court and making the attorneys money. No, it's automatic. We can do that. They do that in other countries. With criminal penalties and imprisonment for repeat non-compliance, alimony matched the length of marriage. So 24 years of marriage for me, that would be 24 years of alimony. He would probably be dead by then. But
yes,
I don't want that.
Yeah.
Men leave their marriages with their careers. Women, if they've been stay-at-home moms, or even if they've been insufficiently employed, they are just constantly playing catch up. Okay, number two, I think that this is crucial. So vote for Jennie for president. I'm going to give discounts for single mothers across the board. You know, when you're a senior citizen and you get those discounts like at national parks and at the movie theater and like and stuff like that. Just as seniors receive discounts as recognition of their income, single mothers should receive discounts on groceries, household goods, services, transportation. There's the invisible labor of caregiving and offsets the financial burden of raising children on one income. Number three, vote for Jennie. Community recreation centers for all children have lost our third spaces. And I cannot believe how much it costs now to do even like rec league sport and belong to a gym, like to do anything, to put my kids in dance lessons. Like I just have not been able to afford that. My kids haven't actually done sports or activities since my divorce. So why don't we as a nation come together and instead of supporting the billionaires and the football players and all those other guys, let's put community recreation centers for children. Every town should offer a free public recreation center, a safe, enriching space for kids to explore, grow, and belong. And they're going to have sports programs, creative arts, after school weekend family programs, access for all income levels, no fees, no uniforms required. A thriving child is a protected child. If I was capable of having it today, I do not feel that I could give my child a good life. And I know this because I'm not able to give the children that I have a good life because of economic problems. And government does absolutely nothing about that. Number four, universal health care. All mothers, all children. Universal health care. Housing, access to safe long-term housing that doesn't demand more than a third of a mother's income.
Oh my gosh.
Policies that prevent eviction and instability. We need to get rid of investors in our economic system, in the housing and land ownership, in so many other arenas of our economy. Let's make sure that housing gets reset to an affordable wage. Do you know that the average age of first-time home buyership right now is, first-time home ownership is 39. 10 years ago, it was 26. It bumped up to 32. Right now, the year 2024, it's 39. The average home across the nation, the national average is $400,000. 70% of American families cannot afford $400,000. And in Arizona, the average up in Gilbert's like 1.6 million, and the median family income is 98,000. You guys do the math. The math absolutely doesn't math. Affordable housing, paid maternity or paid parental leave. Sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Child care support, subsidized or free child care options that are safe, reliable, accessible, because work is real work and mothers deserve support. Flexible work schedules, living wages. You know, we're capable of putting these solar probes into outer space that are out there for 10 years. Send us all of this real-time photography, come back intact, If we can do shit like that, we can certainly figure out how to fix our economy so that we have a living wage for everybody. Everybody. Jobs should pay enough to make basic needs. Food security, consistent access to healthy, nourishing food, mental health support. This needs to be guaranteed. I am not going to have one more baby, should I be capable of it, until I know that I have access to mental health support. A lot of insurance doesn't pay for it. Most people can't afford insurance anyway, and it's just not accessible. That can be funded. There's no reason why we don't have subsidy for more mental health care. Reproductive autonomy, absolute must. If I can't do what I need to do for my body, for my reproductive system, then I shouldn't have a reproductive system. If the government owns it, then I'm giving it. I'm going to get rid of it. I guess I did, because I had the hysterectomy. Able transportation, community and safety protection. This is shelters, hotlines, legal protections, trauma-informed law enforcement to keep women and children safe from domestic violence. Junior college for everybody, so that I can go to junior college, so that I can improve my future, so that I know that if I have these children, that they will have access to free junior college. And then the last couple things are education and job training, legal and workplace protections. So this one's really important. Strong enforcement of laws against pregnancy discrimination, huge. Protections for breastfeeding at work, and job security for caregiver. My very first day on my very first job after my divorce, I was 44 years old. I had been in my classroom in my elementary school for 1 hour when I got a text from my 4-year-old son's school that he had just thrown up. And I had to walk out of that classroom. I had to go pick up my son from his school. I didn't have anyone to watch him in 2 or 3 days, my first week of school. And it was a threat to my job. Emergency financial support and time and space to rest. Mothers need time to breathe. Affordable support systems like home care, postpartum help. Like, where is the tax right for a nighttime nanny? If I had had one of those, do you guys watch the nighttime nannies on TikTok? Oh, like, they're my favorite thing. If I had had a sleep nanny, a night nanny, it would change my life.
Really?
Allow mothers to rest, recover, and reclaim their well-being. Yeah, have you not seen the nighttime nannies?
No, I was a nanny for 4 years. This is so interesting to me. But not a nighttime nanny, just regular.
Nannies.
That's so interesting.
They come in at bedtime, and then so the mommy can sleep. They in the nursery with the baby, and if the baby wakes up, they make sure the baby changes and everything. Like, they change the baby's diaper.
That's so nice.
And then if the baby into the mom, and then when it's done, then they burp it and get back to sleep. So the mom just stays in bed.
Yeah. Aww. So postpartum doulas, overnight postpartum doulas do that as well for young babies.
That's so nice.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with promote single motherhood by choice, because our ability, whether or not we want children, that's up to us. We don't have to be a couple. We don't have to be part of a marriage, a partnership, in order to have children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Jennie for president. You guys, I'll be handing out campaign buttons after the show. So
I'm gonna add one thing as your VP, Jennie. I'm gonna add security for the disabled community. Like, if your child is born and they are disabled, there will be services. There will be funding for you as the caretaker of that child. That, they want us to have babies, but there's no way for me to know whether or not that child's going to be disabled. And so the fact that they want to remove choice, they want to make it so that we can't have abortion, but then that child is born, and then they don't want to pay a damn penny if that child is not able-bodied. Insane. Pick one.
As a society, we have a bank of money and resources and a bank of labor, and we are utilizing that surplus to build bigger and better things, to try to put Elon Musk on the moon or Mars, instead of supporting those who can't support themselves. We need to divert some of the resources that we already have to the handicapped, to mothers, to families, to the vulnerable. I think that that's the best thing as a society that we can possibly do, like homelessness. I have some homeless people that we take food to, and it's really easy to judge the homeless. Homelessness says absolutely nothing about that individual. It says absolutely everything about us as a society. The fact that we are okay with the mentally ill, with there's a disabled veteran who was in Iraq that lives in the wash behind my house that I take bagel sandwiches and icy water bottles to. The fact that we as a society let an Iraqi veteran sit in his wheelchair in 110 degrees in some wash behind my apartment in Tucson, Arizona, nothing about this veteran. It says everything about us as a society. It says we
Shame
don't
on
care a
us.
rat's ass. Again, give me you're tired, you're poor. Your huddled masses to breathe. That's what America is all about. The pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for all. All men are created equal. And we're not living that anymore.
And we're shaming people who want to. Like, that's what our entire country is founded on. And we're shaming people and saying, you go woke, you go broke, and mocking people who.
It's so interesting. This wokeness, to me, this sounds like what Jesus was saying in the New Testament, which is funny. The white Christian nationalism is like the opposite of that. And so it's kind of confusing.
Jesus was so fucking woke.
So guys, that YouTube channel that I was telling you guys about has actually blown my mind on Jesus and has me having second thoughts on my stance on him. So
say the channel again.
It's Durante. What's his last name?
I love when you send me his stuff.
Yeah, so he's a former pastor, Durante Lamar. He's a former pastor, and he talks about how Jesus was a cult leader and some really, really interesting topics that have just they've made me like, okay, I need to sit and process some things after I listen to his.
So one of my favorites is Jem Palmer. Do you follow Jem Palmer, who's a personal friend of mine, so I'm kind of biased. But he was a former mega pastor too, one of the biggest pastors in America, and then he left the Christian church. And one of his books that got him so much heat, it's called Being Jesus in Nashville. So he spends a year in Nashville, like actually just like reading just the Jesus Bible, not the Old Testament, which is BS, just the Jesus part, and like what would Jesus actually do? And then he like did it, like give somebody your coat, like, go the second mile, all that stuff. And he actually did it, and he wrote a book about it. And when you actually dig into who was this rabbi named Yeshua and what did he actually do, it's so different than what's happening in Christian churches. It's absolutely just mind-boggling. Do you know that I'm writing a Bible?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it.
Yes.
It's a non-religious Bible where Yeshua is just a rabbi. It's called The Philosophy of Josh, and it's so good. I love it. I'm so chipping away at it. So one of these days. So
that's so fun.
I love it.
Yeah, I love the parent training programs. Once I started having actual therapy and parental training, like I had my therapist this morning, and 45 minutes of what we worked on was situations with my teenagers, how I can be a better support to them, how I can set better boundaries, and just literally what to do. Training changes lives. Understanding
also
best practices.
I would not accept a parent training class from the current administration.
Wait, you're not going to go to JD Vance's training class?
Learn about how it's my fault because I'm a single mom, and if I just went and was Christian, that all of our problems would go away. No.
Or you can take a class on when you'll be fertile.
Oh yeah, because I have no idea when that happens.
from the fertility president. The fertility president is going to tell us how to be
fertile. Will tell you. Trump will tell you.
Yeah, Trump will tell us. So what's the solution, girls?
Vote for Jennie Gage for president.
Yeah, please vote for me. Actually, vote for Cory Booker. The Democratic Party has some incredible things. I went and saw Senator Booker, Mark, and Gabby Giffords. Gabby Giffords was shot in front of a Safeway here in Tucson, Arizona, just about 8 minutes away from where I live. And it was so touching to see this room full of people stand and cheer for her and cry. Anyway, Senator Booker said something that actually led to how I helped this couple in Tucson. The husband was brutally attacked with a hatchet here just about 2.5 weeks ago, and he lost his life last Thursday night. And it was Cory Booker at the town hall. He said, "We are frozen by thinking that we can't do everything, so we do nothing. Rather than focusing on how we can't do everything, just do something." And if all of us would just do something, it would change the world. And he said, as I sit in these senatorial meetings, we talk about all of these epidemics and all of these deficiencies and all of this stuff going on. Like, we don't have enough money in the treasury, and we don't have enough of this, or we have too much of that. And he said, the only deficiency I care about is our nationwide empathy deficiency. We lack empathy as a nation on a macro level and as an individual level in ways that I've never seen before. And I took notes on both of those things on my phone and just sat there crying. And I've watched a lot of MAGA rallies. I've watched a lot of political things over the years. I don't think there was anything that resonated more with me than Mark Kelly, Gabby Giffords, and Senator Booker, and of course our local Tucson mayor, who's pretty great too. But
yeah, so watching you do that, Jennie, really inspired me, and that's what made me decide, like, now's the time for me to start on getting my nonprofit going. So,
will you please tell us where to find that?
Yeah, so I'll send a link that we can put in the description, or you can go to my Facebook profile, just find Beth Magnetic, and I have a post about it from earlier today. But so a year and a half ago, my son was having a severe medical crisis, and he is autistic, and so this was resulting in life-threatening behaviors for several hours all day, every day for several months on end. And we took him to a mental health clinic. We took him to this mental health clinic, and they basically told us, you can take him home. We gave you some medicine, take him home and figure this out, or you can give up your custody of your child, and we'll put him in a group home. And my son there is one hospital that's equipped to handle autistic kids like my son in the state of Arizona that has 15 beds. We have 58,000 autistic kids in the state, and there are 15 beds for the entire state. So anyway, I, at that moment, as I was going through this horrible crisis, fighting for my son's life, he said, when I'm on the other side of this, I am going to start a nonprofit where we're going to go into homes of families of the developmentally disabled who are in crisis or are headed for crisis, to help them in practical, logistical ways, to help them get specialized locks on all their doors, to help them to get any chemicals or knives or anything like that locked up, to help with getting their house clean, because they've been in crisis for weeks or months at this point by the time that we're there. Just to help with the things that people who do not live this life and have not been immersed in it, they don't know how to handle it. And so people are afraid. Like, honestly, they come in and they're afraid to be around a child that's having this type of crisis, who's developmentally disabled, because they're unfamiliar with it. So, and then I partnered with somebody who, her little sister had to have an amputation of her foot, who her sister has autism and cerebral palsy. And so anyway, we're forming a nonprofit to be able to go in and help families in crisis, because there's nobody who knows how to help families like ours when this is happening. So Anyway, we're just trying to raise $3,800. We've already got $998 towards that, to be able to get this nonprofit going. So
we'll put that link in the description.
Okay, perfect. I was going to ask about that. Yeah, that's great.
Grab that link and stick it in the description. So please help with that. You don't realize how few resources there are for people these days. And it's stunning. It's our tribal decay is affecting all of us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm in the state of Arizona, like Jennie, and they are in the process of stripping our children of services that will result in them having to be sent out of state to institutions where their SA, the rate of being SA'd is somewhere estimated between 50 to 80%.
Oh my gosh.
In these institutions. So it is a huge crisis and a huge deal. So anybody, like, truly $5 goes further than you think when it comes to us trying to make this difference. So anyway, I'll get that link and,
Beth, thank
and put
you
it in
for
the description
that.
for everyone.
Perfect. That is amazing.
Thank you
All
for
right.
going to help that family. So anyway.
Yeah, go watch
Thank
the
you
videos
for
on
hopping on
Motherhood
and talking to
Let
me.
me see.
Yeah, this was
You guys are
great.
amazing.
Yeah.
And Julia, we're going
Yeah.
to link
Thank you
that
for being
article in
like
the
so impromptu with
description.
me.
Perfect. The New York Times article, yes.
Mhm.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts, Julia? Let's go right to left screen. What's your final thought? How do we fix it? What do we need to do?
I don't even know if I even have an answer. I just know that the proposed things to help women have more children are not it. This is not it. I don't know what the answer would be. Jennie, I love all of your thoughts and ideas. I think that's amazing. What the Trump administration is doing right now is not it to help women, encourage them to have more children. That's just not going to work.
Absolutely not. And my thoughts are, I think it is so easy to feel overwhelmed and terrified right now. Like there are so many horrible, awful things, and you can sit here and you can see how events from Germany are being replicated here today, and we can feel like there's nothing that we can do. And in some regards, maybe we can't. In studying Nazi Germany, I learned that there were lots of people who they were fighting the system. There were people who were advocating, and they still couldn't stop it. But even if we can't stop everything, if we can, AOC talked about this, it's our job to be grains of sand in the gears, slowing them down, trying to slow their impact, slow the harm, and do whatever we can. And it requires us all working together in mass. We have to have tons of grains of sand slowing down the gears. So be a grain of sand and speak up with us.
That's perfect.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Julia. That's one of the things we talked about in our town hall here in Tucson. President Cory Booker said that one thing that gets attention in Washington is when there are protests, when people speak up, there's any type of movement rally. He said that it's embarrassing. And especially senators, whatever side of the aisle they're on, when they see people on the news who are out there marching in the streets with signs, they watch that. So he actually said protest, keep up the public facing activism, because that's better than an email. That's better than anything that you can send to any of your senators or to the White House or anywhere. I think also, like, in addition, yes, we need to resist in ways that we never wanted to resist before. We need to speak up. We need to fight back, but we also need to fight to support one another. We need to make sure that if there is a single mom in your neighborhood, if there's somebody who has a disabled child, if there's a family that has less, don't wait for the government to do something about that. Don't wait for somebody's church to do something about that. Just do it. Just do it. Do something. We need to repair tribes. And until we rebuild our tribes and start as humans to organically love and support and nurture one another in a local way, it's collapse. It really is. That's how every civilization, once that fiber starts to decay and pull apart, then it's never good.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
Thank you
Deb is on top of
This has
things.
been great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hopping on and talking about this with me. So,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah and Brendan, Mrs. Robinson, and everybody for being here. I always love, it's hard sometimes I work from home a lot, and I think I'm just in an echo chamber. I always love coming on lives and hearing other people's thoughts and ideas. So thank you guys so much for interacting with us. We appreciate you being here. And we have some good things coming up. Julie and I are going to be diving into the Mormon doctrine of Heavenly Mother and how you can be an eternal handmaid if you are a believing Mormon. And Beth and Julie are going to be diving into the blood atonement.
Yes.
So
yes.
I don't know. Are we fun or are we creepy? I can't tell.
We're a little morbid.
We're a little bit both. So
awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
May the Lord close.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Is it doing it?